Hello, my baddies, and welcome back to another episode of Cosmic RX Radio. This one is a very special edition. It is one of our In the Cosmic Zone series where I get to interview and talk to and hear more about people I think are living in the cosmic zone in honor of my upcoming book coming out. And this human being is so much in the cosmic zone that I mentioned her in my book, y'all. We're talking to Shantani Moore. She is a body intelligence coach. Okay, I can't wait to get into this more with you. And a former mentee and just a beloved bestie and soul friend of mine. She's done so many amazing things in this one lifetime. But right now, I'm going to say, get your pen and paper out, prepare to take notes as she takes us to school. She is like the secret sauce behind so many people's success. People are changing the game, and she can be yours too. She specializes in nervous system performance, and she's worked with the top 1% of global wellness leaders, celebrities, corporations over the past decade. She's been featured in major outlets, Women's Health, Equinox, Lululemon, but more importantly than all of that, she is authentic. She is the real deal. She is a cosmic catalyst for change and for you to not only live in alignment with your highest self and be your highest self, but really feel grounded and well resourced and nourished while you do it. Shantani has already helped and inspired thousands of people all over the world to clean the lives they want and retire the status quo lives they've been sold. And that's why I am so excited to talk to her and get into all of that and more. And especially her nonlinear journey to this moment, because are the journeys ever linear? So, Shantani, welcome to the pod. How are we doing today?
Uh, Thank you for having me and that gorgeous intro. I could not have asked for a better one. I'm doing really well. We just said a beautiful prayer right before this, and I am feeling clean, clear, cosmic, under control. Okay? We are feeling it.
Oh,
So I can't
bless
wait for
the
this
goddess for
conversation.
that prayer. You just took me through the body intelligence like moment there, because at the time of the recording, it's Mercury retrograde shadow. You know, Mercury always comes from my ass in the retro shade. I had batteries dead in my car today. I had blowouts all over my white couch from my toddler. And then microphone's not working. And then you took me through that prayer. And now I'm like, I'm grounded. I'm embodied. Who me worry? What? I'm so here. So
Who's she? Who's
um
worried?
who who's she? So it's like the medicine's already working, baby girl. I am so excited to get into your journey today. And I've been reflecting so much about like how long we've known each other and who you were when we started working together versus now. But before I get into all of that, we gotta do the cosmic bio. Can you tell everyone your big three, like for reference?
Yes, so I am an Aquarius moon and a Libra sun and a Capricorn rising to the 28th degree. Okay, so we have the strategies. We are here with the receipts, baby. Okay, I
This
need a
is why.
receipt.
That's why she has the receipts. Okay, she has the soul, but she has the structure and the strategy. Okay, honey, this is not just like we're not airy fairy. We're here on Earth doing Earth work, and this is why I love like my Earth sign culture, because I feel like you and I are always like, yes, this is all amazing, but like, what are we doing with this? Like, how are we
That's
helping?
right.
How are we changing the world? How are we getting rooted? How are we getting grounded? Okay, so we love that big three, so beautiful, and I tease this in the opening, but you are one of the real ones. Now, listen, no shade, but actually plenty of shade to people out there. There's a lot of inauthentic bitches out there and bros. Like, no, truly, like, I like don't leave the house much anymore. And then I go out to like an event or I meet people, and like, whether they're like famous or whether they're like top of their field or like influencer or coach or just like an everyday person, and they're beautiful and like there are on the soul level, they're beautiful. But, I live in Montauk, which is part of the Hamptons. I have seen people who are coaches, mentors, spiritual people who like don't tip their servers or like littering on the beach or just being a general asshole. And I'm like so grateful for you and people like you who are exactly who you are online, as you are in our sessions, as you are at home with your fiance. And so, I think part of like what I think is so beautiful about your journey is you've been so true to yourself, and you're always on a journey to like come back into yourself and release that like performative success that we'll talk about is obviously part of your journey because it's part of all of ours. And I was thinking about like that first session, the first time we talked, and like I remember seeing so much of myself in you. Obviously, like we're very different, come from different backgrounds. We look very different, but I was like, nope, the energy is there, the frequency is there. So, can you take us back to maybe who you were before you were body intelligence coach, like crushing it in this mind body connection universe, and what your life looked like then?
All right, y'all, let's go back.
Let's go back, way
Let's
back in a
go
time
back,
machine.
back, back. When I met Maddie, I was a professional dancer, singer, dancer, actor. I live in Los Angeles currently, and a professional fitness coach. So I worked with people in movement in many capacities. And so much of my life was about output, 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 performing for performance sake, whether that be on stage, on camera, in the studio. And I, as it usually does happen for most of us, was starting to hear this whisper of my ambition calling me in and
Mm,
asking me the deeper questions of why am I actually doing this? Why do I
mm,
want to help people transform their bodies, right? Like that was the thing that I think
mhm.
any fitness instructors who are out there in the podverse, y'all listening, you'll hear when people ask you like, what do you want to do? Like why do you coach? I'm like, "Oh, I really want to help people." And you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's true." And it's also, I'll be honest, it's vague. So it's like, I want to help people. I'm like, well, I'm so glad that you're not an asshole, but like, what do you really want to do in this world?
So, see, this is the
Okay, I'm
realness.
calling.
This is the
Okay,
realness we're talking
I'm
about, and I love
I'm
it.
telling you. Okay, this is me. Okay, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Don't worry, I'm with you. So I spent a lot of time and I was feeling this cognitive dissonance for myself. Whereas the more that I dove into my own inner work, the more that the messages that were being fed to me through the industry didn't make sense. They didn't make sense and they didn't feel
Mm,
authentic. And so that
mm,
naturally led me down this journey of my own spiritual path. I was a fitness instructor and also a yoga teacher and began to dive deeper into energetic work, Reiki, sound healing, things that didn't have to do with getting a sweat,
mhm,
and really actually going back to the original authentic principles of yoga, right? Which is an entire philosophy. It's not just a workout. So,
mm,
with that, I found myself asking for more, and I found the Cosmic RX, as most of us do, and started listening to the pod. And once I started working with you, um, I really felt myself get called in to
mm,
my fullest expression, and
mm,
it wasn't so much about me being someone else. And it wasn't about me even reinventing myself. It was more about me going, what is the truth of my lived experience, and how is
mm,
that the medicine that I'm meant to
mm.
share with the world?
Yes, yes.
So, with all of that and with our work together, which I'm sure we'll get into more in the story, but that's where I was. I was burnt out. I was performing for a paycheck, literally and figuratively. I was bypassing my own instincts, my own intuition, and I was afraid. I was afraid. I was
Mm,
afraid that if I was honest about what I knew to be true, that
mm.
I would have to sacrifice my sense of belonging and fitting into the industry and, you know, keeping up with the wellness girly aesthetic. And Spirit just had a different plan for me, girl. She was like,
Yes, she did.
no. Lovingly, we are sick of your shit.
That's cute, but no. I I love that, and I'm sure so many people listening can relate to that. that feeling too, right? Like everything you said, from wanting to help people, but maybe feeling kind of vague towards maybe like signing up. But we understand, like we meet ourselves where we're at. Maybe we're like, oh, I want to help people, so that feels like transition from being a dancer to helping people with their fitness. And you're like, okay, great, and then that into helping them more energetics, and it's like, okay, all this stuff. It's like a little like breadcrumbing, but it's also this thing of like, um there's something more. And also, I relate to you a lot because I feel like I started this journey too, being like, I want to help everybody. I want to help everybody. And Spirit's like, first, you're going to sit down and we're going to crack you all the way the F open. Then we're going to bend you over. Then we're going to spank you. Then we're going to make you peel off your skin and transform from the inside out while being really raw and vulnerable and you have no idea what's going on. And then I'm like, okay, when do I get to help people? And they're like, child, no, like you're just like, I can be like, I'm gonna help people. And they're like, first, actually quick reroute to absolutely soul explosion, implosion, breakdown, breakthrough. So that kind of, I do want to talk about like the discomfort, right? Like the like at least my mentorship and this book, I really talk about this like concept of the cosmic zone. It took me a while to articulate what that is, but it's like when we're feeling called to leave our comfort zone, and in some ways maybe we're like, it's comfortable there. You talked about the belonging, the safety, the aesthetics. It's like when everything on paper is fine, or maybe it's not fine, but at least it's like getting you by. You're like, I know how to survive here. But in honesty, when you really are looking at yourself at the end of the day, there's something that just feels off, whether you feel lost, whether you feel disconnected, whether you feel spread thin, whether you feel like you're living in someone else's version of success. But there comes the moment, right? Like unfortunately for a lot of us, it's not like we just decide one day for no reason at all, just like kind of happy, like, it's a nice day outside. I'm gonna have a matcha latte and just completely uproot my very existence of my career, my identity, my relationships. There's usually like some cracks that begin to form beneath the glossy exterior, and with that comes like a hole ripping wide open. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit of like what were some of those cracks? Because I want to say that when I met you, I was like, oh, this girl is living the LA wellness girly dream on paper, right? Like the brand deals, the cute Insta, the personality, the body, the life. And I was like, okay. But then you're like, this is something here is not aligned. So can you walk us through maybe what that felt like from your perspective?
Mm, thank you for calling that in because I found you right. I remember our first call. I think you were like, so you just entered your Saturn return. And I was like, who's she? Literally, who is she?
I'm sorry, what now? I'm sorry, what?
Literally. And I was like, wow, the timing when the teacher, or excuse me, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I'm going to talk about two big moments that really shifted my trajectory. One of them
Mm,
was physical, and one of them
mhm.
was deeply energetic and cleared everything from the inside out. So, the first pivot point was when I was teaching during our favorite year, 2020. Okay. I was teaching outside in a parking garage fitness classes because that's all that the
Mm,
studio had decided was like, this is going to be
mhm.
our solution. Well, long story short, I was teaching, I was moving bikes outside, moving weights outside, moving mats outside, waking up
Mm.
at like 5 a.m., doing all that schlep, then teaching three back to back classes, and
Oh,
then moving everything back, right? And I was doing this almost every day. Now, one day, when Spirit said, I'm sure if we looked at the astrology, it would totally make sense. But I remember at the end of this class, I laid down at the end of the yoga portion. I was in Shavasana and I went to, I decided to lay down because I could feel myself burning out. Like I was feeling that dissonance and I was like, let me just like lay down.
mm.
And I laid down and then I started to go, all right, everyone, deepen your breath, awakening them out. And I couldn't get up. I physically went to move
Wow.
and get up, and I physically could not move my body. Meanwhile, the manager at the time was like in the bathroom, so it was just me and the clients, and I had my mic on, and I had like
Oh my
some like juicy
God.
like 90s R&B slow jam playing or something, and I was like, I cannot get up.
Oh
And
my
I
God.
yeah, and that's a form of, I had a moment of trauma induced paralysis where my body physically shut down. And we were joking about it earlier, but literally my body was like, we are not taking another step forward. You are done. And
Yeah.
I luckily, I tell the story often, but I was really saving this part for this podcast because I know y'all baddies will get it. One of my now friends was a client in the class, and she does energy work. And
Mm,
at the end of the class, I finally like did my own energetic magic nervous
mm,
system regulation to get myself like back able to get up.
mm.
And she came up to me at the end of the class, and long story short, she said, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how you keep up with all of this energy all the time. Like, you're so great, da 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 da
Mm.
da. And I told her, I was like, well, actually, let me tell you what just happened. And her and I performed an energetic exorcism on me in that moment. And I broke down into tears. And it was like 10
Wow.
minutes before the next class. And it was the first time where I really felt two things. One, if you push yourself to that point of burnout, will be, if you push too far, there will be a point where you don't have a say. And two, the magic is real. Because she literally got me back to the place where I was able to, you know, I wasn't completely, not that you're ever completely healed, but I hadn't completely learned the lesson. So I did teach the next class. But that was the
Mm,
first moment in my life where I said, okay, this is this is the first time it's gone out of my hands, and that's really scary. It's really
mm,
scary. Um,
mm.
and then the second, the second one that Maddie knows oh so well. I had for those of you who listen to the pod a lot, you may have heard about Maddie's like Goliath moment back in the day with a very famous coffee joint. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Leave
And
it
I
right
had
there.
okay, I'm just gonna leave it right there. Okay, and I had that moment with a very famous fitness company. And for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you know the tea. But I, through my work with Maddie, was coming more into my own body and realizing how much working on my nervous system and um, everything that I was also learning and teaching as well was really being integrated. And in that, my body changed. My body physically changed, and I started
Mm,
to have a more womanly form. I didn't look the same. And I had booked the biggest deal of my entire career, the biggest brand deal,
mhm,
and was my face was plastered on all of the marketing material. And the day after the launch, they dropped me from the project. And I immediately, my Libra shadow was like, I offended somebody. Like, I did something wrong. Like, oh my God. And I, Cap Rising was like, let me get the receipts. Let me see what we're doing. And long story short, I found out that the person who was my direct higher up, um, who was in charge of all of the talent, decided that he was not happy with the fact that I had gained weight. And so he let me go. And it was really, really hard. And I talk about it a lot in my work. If you follow me, you'll get to know this story even more. But it's like I was really grieving in public the fact
mm.
that I had finally started to come into my own skin
Yeah.
and literally take up more space. And I felt at the time that I was being cut out because of it. So all of my core belonging wounds, all that stuff came out. And long story longer, in conclusion, um, it really taught me. It put me. Saturn said, "Girl, sit your ass down. You are not
Mhm,
listening. You are not listening."
mhm,
And I remember I had prayed for divine intervention, and I got it.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
For
Okay.
those of
Well,
you
I
who,
mean,
yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Ooh.
first of all, every time we tell that story, the second story, I get so angry again. Like I feel like I'm in that Pretty Woman scene. I'm like, big mistake, huge. And we know that to be true, obviously. But it's so interesting, right? You're like, the second that I started taking up more space, being in my body, yada yada, and starting like that journey, it's like really being in your power. It's like interesting that one, like the powers that be, were like, we cannot handle this, whether they like knew consciously or not. And also, like, the universe will really be giving you those moments to be like, am I going to like stand 10 toes down on this right now? That I'm like, no, 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 like this is a journey, right? It's going to kind of give you, you taught me about the buffalo analogy. Like, will you have the strength to face this like head on and just go right through the storm? Because that's like on the other side of that, right? Is where we go into some more that like cosmic zone living. And I remember just being with you, and it was during like very literal eclipses happening, your 10th house and your public image and your professional life, and so much transformation. And I really, because I had been through something similar, I was like, it's like when you're getting ready for that storm, I'm like, okay, the buffalo, I'm like, okay, Sean, this is gonna suck, it's gonna suck, it's gonna suck a little bit more, and then it's gonna start to suck less and feel better, because you chose yourself, right, instead of backing down. And we talk about, I featured you in the book. I could have featured your story in like 10 different chapters, but even as you're talking, I'm thinking about where you have your second house of values is shared by the Aries house. And like, in my book, the first thing I open up the book with like, we have to go into that Aries energy, right? Like, for all of us, these keys are like permission slips, pep talks. And the first thing we need is like, why not me? But really, it's just the antidote to the good girl complex, because we all have it. And I think good girl energy is very Virgo. We talked about Chiron energy, who's just like, oh, I'm sorry, did I offend? And then right behind Virgo is Libra, being like, okay, I'll write you a thank you note. I'm so sorry. Like, let's just go back and place the shadow of those signs, right? And so for you to practice and exhibit taking up more space and more power, and immediately have like your that zap to the Chiron, and the fact that like those are moments where we can kind of be on that growth edge of our cosmic zone, and instead we can kind of like, we have two options, like recoil all the way back into the old programming, into the place of like fear, hurt, worry, wounding, or we can like, it doesn't always look pretty. It's not like we feel really brave when we're doing it, but we're just like, choose to show up with courage and choose to show up. And you did that. And I just want to really commend you and thank you for sharing that story. Because, you know, obviously everyone can follow you if they want to follow more details on it, but like, it's truly one of those stories that I love. Like, I have chills when I listen to it, because I'm like, this is how we have our personal evolution, by continuing to make those choices. But I think this is how we form this collective revolution, right? Like, okay, bye, like, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like, I'm not going to continue in this place of like performing for the patriarchy, for these like white Eurocentric like wellness beauty standards. I'm not gonna like make myself smaller energetically or physically. And like, I just love that little middle finger energy. So thank you for sharing that. Um and that obviously, took you to like, on a kicked you on another catalyst journey. This is the Saturn return, is always like fun, like chapters within chapters. And one of the things like I chose to put you in the chapter of the book that's like letting pleasure guide you instead of pressure. Because to me, what I love about your embodiment work and you being a body intelligence coach, it's not just like have the body look good, which is maybe like some of the, fitness world stuff. And it's not even just being in the authoritative, intuitive center of your body, which is also very important. And we'll talk about that. But to me, like, you are someone who just like really like takes a bite out of the rich juiciness of like life and like what life has to offer, whether that's like traveling, whether that's the way you host events, whether that's like we talked about like eating and fine dining, and whether that's like choosing yes to new adventures, and you're just like very present with life, and you have such a joyful spirit. And that's what I think is like anyone who has, the luck and the blessings to work with you. It's just that you have like an effervescence to you. Um, so like your life feels good, you feel good in it. You're, I think, guided by pleasure a lot. But like, what, what was kind of like one of the transitions, or what helped you begin to do that or realize that? Because obviously I don't think that was like always the case. And we had this like, we're leaving you in the story and this like kind of breakdown, breakthrough moment with this big fitness brand that shall not be mentioned. But like, what started to help you like get out of that tunnel, that darkness a little bit, and back into the place of like feeling like at home in your body again and feeling joy in your body?
Mm, this is such an incredible question. I see this a lot with, having studied bodies and studied people over the last just years, and just being so intrigued and interested in the utility of our bodies, right? So what is the purpose of our body?
Mm-hmm.
And, in a more esoteric perspective, one might say, for it's your body is a home for your soul, right? It's a place that your soul can drop down into and to experience the beauty of humanity, the peaks and the valleys, and all of that. Um, but have found with clients that there's three main steps that I see happen in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step, and I'll relate it to my journey to make it real, is the insight of the pain. Okay, so whether that is you get dropped publicly from a major deal, or you're almost passed out in a parking garage in front of all of your sold out class, right? Like you have these moments in life where
Yes.
life stops you in your tracks and
Yes.
creates a lot of pain and resistance. Now, when your body
Yes.
experiences dysregulation by that, we first need to get your body back into homeostasis, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
where, a lot of our time together, that's what I was doing. I didn't have the language at the time, but I
Mm-hmm.
needed to, it took me at least, I would say, it took me on my own and with your support like 2 years to really
Mm-hmm.
find how my body stays regulated and
Mm,
to live in it. And that's where sound healing,
mm.
going to your yoga classes, beach walks. I walked on the beach like it was going
Mhm.
out of
You
style,
did.
honey. Like it was going out of style. Like they were closing up shop and it was like everything must go. Okay. I was in those streets, walking,
You
walking,
were.
walking, walking, walking. And that's one thing that is, what a lot of people might not see, because it's maybe not as aesthetically pleasing for an algorithm. But it took patience, it took time, it took a lot of grace.
Mhm.
And that was the second part, which is like finding that moment of homeostasis and
Mhm.
stability.
Mhm.
Then from there, what starts to happen, because humans, we have this insatiable drive and desire for adventure. We needed it. We're hardwired
Mhm.
for it biologically. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been nomadic and we wouldn't have been able to sustain
Mhm.
for thousands of years, right? So, with that, after you get regulated, you start to go, I'm a little bit bored.
Totally.
You're like going to your classes, you're like doing the things, you're doing your rituals, and you're like, that it's important because it is. You got to come back to basics, but you start to feel that drive and that fire. Talk a lot about elements and
Mhm.
the elements in my work. That fire starts to get lit again,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then that's really where I meet people in the intersection of my work. Is you've done you know what's going on, you've been through it, you're doing your
Mhm.
therapy, you're drinking your water, you're minding your business, you're doing your thing. And
Mhm.
now you are ready to be
Mhm.
brave again and move in a
Mhm.
different way. So those three stages, that's where it was for me, is like, oh, okay, I'm ready to be brave again, I'm ready to take risks again. And we don't
Mhm.
talk about that a lot, I think. And I'm saying the proverbial we, as like, I see this a lot in through the lens of like spiritually bypassing, of right, like, let's just sit down and journal and manifest your dreams. I'm like, Okay, you can write them down, but this Cap Rising said you better get to work. Okay, you need to
Honey,
put in the reps.
to
Okay,
quote the great prophet Britney Spears, you better work, bitch. Like
you better
you yeah, like
literally.
that's cute and everything, but the cap rising is like, what are we going to do about it? Again, why I love the earth sign culture. Like, what are we doing here? It's so true because it's so easy to stay in that place of like, because you call it bored, and some people just feel like it's really safe. And to me, that is like another kind of version of like the comfort zone. And I think that's also a little bit, if I may speak to, as always, I'd love to speak to the collective energy, but how we got in this mess, I think for a little bit was for many generations, people who found these esoteric tools and the energy work and even things like therapy or working with crystals or nature or ayahuasca. It was great, but then they healed. And then I think they're like, ooh, we're just going to stay back here where everything's lovely and nice, like in my yurt, in my, little on my meditation cushion where everything is wonderful, right? And they were like, but truly, like, I love what you said about that third phase of like, it's time to be brave again. Now it's time to like put this into action. And that is exactly how I feel because now we need you out in the streets, like doing something with it, right? Whether it's like for making art, whether it's making peace in the world, whether it's like just showing up for your family more beautifully, but like we need something that acts like that next growth edge of bravery. So I love that. Okay, keep going. But I just had to say, I was like that you have me on the hook with this 3-step. I love a 3-step. Again, my Virgo culture. I'm like, check, check.
Yeah,
Got it.
check, check. So we have first we have like the inside of the pain point,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second phase is like coming back, pause. I'm making this up on the spot. Okay, we need to pause. Okay, phase two, and we need to come regulated. And then we get to drive towards our purpose and to our potential, and we get to be
Mm-hmm.
brave. And Maddie brought up, the buffalo medicine. Both Maddie and I have studied a lot of indigenous, like shamanic traditions, especially those of the Quechua people in Peru. And nature has all the answers you could ever need.
Yes.
Literally has all the answers you could ever need. But that, for those of you who might be listening to this for the first time and never heard it, it said that what's they'll say like what's the difference between a herd of cattle and buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
When a storm comes, the buffalo will actually charge towards the storm because they know that if they run towards it, it'll be harder, it'll be more challenging, but they'll get through it sooner. Versus a herd of cattle, which are known to like run away, and then they get tired and they slow down, and the storm just follows them and they stay in that painful state longer. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like that's how I'll be honest, I've it's part of my makeup. And it was because we didn't talk about this, but how I was raised, I had a childhood that made me really strong, really young, really fast. And so I got that medicine very early. But there's something to be said about being brave and going towards it, and not there's nothing wrong with coming home and meditating and sitting with spirit. All of that's really important so that you come from an embodied place. But just make sure that you are staying in the game. Stay in the game, because that's
Yes.
the only way you're going to disrupt a system is if you're in it.
Mm. Fuck yes. Fuck yes to that. I'm just like, smashing like into the air. Repost, share. I love that. And truly, I just want to call out because again, like I said, it was interesting as a practice for me of like wanting to tell stories in my book because I'm like, it's one thing to hear like take your power back. And it's another thing to be like, here's what that looks like in my life or someone else's life in all the messy details, but also like the mundane and also the expression of like what that really looks like. And for you, like I said, it was hard to figure out. I'm like, do I picture her in the Capricorn chapter or I figure in the Libra? Like I was like trying to figure out what key I wanted to put you in. But I think that what you just touched upon, um, is so powerful to me. I ended up featuring you in the Taurus chapter, which is interesting because you don't have a lot of like Taurus placements or huge things going on, except for it's your major angle in your chart. It's your IC. It's your your cosmic root chakra. It's like where you find home in the world, which I also love because of your Taurus fiance, but I digress. But like the Taurus energy in terms of like your body and coming back in, and the somatics and the things of like being there, and kind of this feeling of like opposite that is your midheaven. And I always say like your IC in general is like where we root down and ground down. so we can have a really strong sense of self and belonging and feeling anchored into something within ourselves, so we can go out and and fly really high or grow really tall and big like a tree with really strong roots, and do those things that are a little bit scarier or more vulnerable or bigger. So and it's like how we do that in our chart, looking at our IC really helps. And for you with Taurus, this being in the body, but the being in nature. And I love what you said about like learning so much from nature. I know with like your shamanic path, I know with, you had many journeys where nature sort of opened up something for you, whether it was your beach walks or being on the river. And I think it's just a really good reminder for all of us that like when the world feels really overwhelming, there is something like in our body and nature that are not just teaching us something, but there's like an interconnectedness that we can learn from. Like we're not inventing anything new for the first time with like, we're not the first like human, we're not the first being to go through this. And you talk about that a little bit in your work, like unique versus special. But I just wanted to shout out the Taurus energy, just sliving, thriving through you. And like, we're going to shift into a little bit of like now what you do with your work. And I just want to say like, um, before we transition into that, is there advice or just like a quick pep talk you'd want to give someone who's maybe listening and realizing, oh shit, it me? Like that successful life on paper is actually like it's slowly killing me. Not to sound dramatic, but I will be dramatic because I think that's what happens. Like our life force gets extinguished in one way or the other, whether through burnout or just through feeling so underwhelmed or underappreciated or just out of alignment. So, like, is there something that comes to mind that you're like, okay, if you're feeling that, here's one thing I just want to say to you, or just some kind of advice or a word of encouragement?
Mm. You're meant to lead.
Mm. Oh.
That's the first thing that came through.
Mm.
If you're hearing this and you're going, I hear myself in there's a lot of dissonance. I'm not a person that is trying to be out of integrity, but it's just not working. You're probably in that system because you're meant to lead.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, with that, everything that we're talking about, yes, stillness is important. Get really clear. Work with someone or with tools or rituals or whatever you have to really come home to yourself and really get clear on the point. You know,
Mm.
we if we're lucky, we get what? If we're lucky, we get 80 years on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want to do? What do they say that quote with your one wild and precious life? Like this is your life. This is your life and you're hearing that whisper because it's the truth
Mm-hmm.
and you get to lead and you know you're meant to lead. So, there are ways for you to make that transition and know that you don't have to overhaul your whole life because it's very, very tempting. I know Maddie many times was like, you don't need to pull a Britney, just breathe. Everybody just breathe. And you get to lead and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to force your way through, but you get to know what's honestly true for you and start to figure out not if it's possible, but how.
I love that. But how exactly it is possible? Okay, and then this is a great segue because I heard you say it right there, about like coming home to yourself. So now you've gone from this burnout recovery into your full embodied boss level brilliance, and you're helping other people do the same. And you have this new signature program, Homecoming. What was the story? What, because I know there's inspiration. I know all that sad going on. There's a story. There's inspiration. What inspired you to create it? Like, who are the kind of people that are feeling called to it, and like, what results are people seeing through this work?
Great question. The inspiration was working in my one to one practice and truly attracting the most brilliant, wonderful, genius, innovative people. And noticing how there is a narrative that was a through line where they were so focused on healing and so focused
Mm,
on like staying in like, but I can't lead because I haven't, there was this destination that was never coming. And
mm,
there's this
mm,
shadow of, because you want to come from a place of integrity, the other side of that can sometimes be what some might call feeling like an imposter, like imposter syndrome, right?
Mhm.
And with that, I've heard this said too, like the when you feel like an imposter, it's not that you're um, not meant to lead, but to be honest, you probably just need to put the reps in. Like you
Mhm.
feel not
Mhm.
ready because you haven't prepared, and that's okay. You need to just put more reps in. And everybody has to start somewhere. We all have to start,
Yeah.
and we are afraid sometimes because social media, or we see a colleague that's doing something else and we constantly are comparing ourselves. But at the end of the day, we have to move. And this
Mhm.
is especially right now, people are understandably in a state of feeling frozen,
Mm.
understandably feeling frozen. And
Mhm.
there is this, like, I would say, ooh, it's coming through, like Saturn and Aries shadow of being like, I'm just
Yeah.
going to focus on me then. I just need to focus
Yeah.
on me and take care of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, so that you can what? Take care of you so that you can what? We talk a lot about,
Mhm.
we hear a lot about, and like, I think the spiritual industries and like coaching space about the intersections of those, about the divine feminine.
Mhm.
And when anybody who's listening to this, and if you're driving, please do not close your eyes. But if you were to close your eyes and you think of the
Mhm.
archetype of the divine feminine, many
Mhm.
people would probably see, and I'm going to say this, a cis white hetero woman
Mhm.
in a long linen dress somewhere in the
Mhm.
woods who's just like
Mhm.
frolicking about.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, I don't look like that. I
Mhm.
don't look like that, and I don't identify that way. So
Mhm.
when I went back home to nature and said, "Okay, you are the mama. Show me the way, show me the
Mhm.
way, show me the way." You want to know what I look to? I look to a mama lion. I look to the
Mhm.
ocean. Okay?
Mhm.
Treacherous. Okay? Like literally, does the
No.
ocean ask to crash upon
No.
the shore?
No.
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 Literally, no. The shore better
No.
get it together and hold it together.
No.
Because
Proceed with
literally,
caution. Proceed with caution because she's doing what she's gonna do. She's ebbing and she's flowing. Okay,
she's
like
ebbing and she's flowing.
yeah, yeah.
And so like
Mhm.
I always, that's the archetype that I use, is like the ocean and like a mama lion. She's not asking for
Mhm.
permission to go hunt. She's gonna go out there and
Mhm.
get it. She's not laying on her
Yeah.
back underneath a tree.
No,
Okay.
like you said, she's not like holding her rose quartz and journaling and just being like, maybe my dinner will come to me and my cubs tonight if I just sit here, right? Like there is again, it's this balance, right? And I think that's so beautiful. I remember like your big lioness moment, and I remember all these like ahas, and it's so cool how that archetypal energy can just activate something in you. And yeah, so this okay, so we got to go, we got to move, and then so back to homecoming. I'm like, I'm so lost in the journey. I'm like
Yeah.
a lioness, an ocean. I'm like, yes. Okay, so that divine feminine energy and the Saturn and Aries shadow a little bit. So I'm hearing maybe some people are overwhelmed, understandably so. I mean, there's literally a technique happening right now called flood the zone, where it's like, hey, let's just flood the media zone so everyone just is in a state of paralysis. And so what does your work help? Like how can you help people start to begin to shift out of that a little bit?
Yes. So I use a variety of different modalities in my body intelligence coaching work, one of which is very niche, and it's called spinal energetics. And that work literally helps you to process stress faster. So it's about your nervous system's resiliency, and so much of the conversation lately has been about regulation. Regulation
Mm.
is stage two of that three-part process.
Mm,
Resiliency
mhm,
is what is required to be able to dust yourself off and try again. Okay, we got to get up and get moving. So
mhm,
I do a lot of somatic coaching and really helping you to find the strategies that work for you with your lived experience. Like taking Maddie, for example, you are doing a book launch, you have two kids, you have
mhm,
businesses. Like there are some strategies that are out there that are helpful for some, but maybe not for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so we work with cycle syncing, we work with spinal energetics, we work with all these things and
Mm.
take your actual calendar, your actual real life,
Earth sign culture,
earth
like your
sign
actual
culture.
iCal, like your what is going on that calendar, like because it's a lot, we know, and like
Yes.
taking that into account. I love that.
Yes. And really making it again actionable. So we have a 4-part frame, and it is to, don't think, just move. MOVE. So M stands for mobilize. When you have inspiration or you're feeling like you're in that chronic freeze, we need to either mobilize the idea, mobilize your body. We need to get action energy, that fire starter energy in the building.
Mm.
Then O is optimize. Once you've taken aligned action, you'll have the receipts to know how to make it better, know how to make it easier, know how to make
Mm.
it more optimized. Do we need to get do we need to get AI involved? Do we need to get a funnel involved? Do we need to get a
Mm-hmm.
sitter? Like, what do we need to make
Mm-hmm.
this better?
Mm.
Then we have V, which is verify. Honey. Verify, which means you've taken action, M,
Yeah.
you've made it better, O. Now verify, we're going to go back and we're going to test it against whatever we've established in the container, your values,
Mm.
your
Mm-hmm.
vision, your
Mm-hmm.
metrics, your
Mm-hmm.
actual goals. Do we need to pivot? And we're going to make sure
Mm.
that those things are actually happening. And
Mm.
then from there, E is once you've done all those 3 steps, you just execute, execute,
Mm-hmm.
execute, But we've done the work, and the people that work with me
Mm.
have, like the people who listen to this podcast, are already on that journey of, I know
Right.
how to take care. I know how to take care of myself, or I'm like really close to figuring it out. So we
Right.
have that toolkit to then go, okay, now we can execute. And when you start to feel yourself come back up against that cycle, all right,
Mm-hmm.
what needs to move? What needs to be optimized? What do we need to verify against? And how are we going to execute? And we just repeat, rinse and repeat. And you can do that in almost anything, in my opinion. And I'll give an example. I'll
Mm.
give 2 simple examples, one that's personal, one that's professional. So let's start with like a personal. Let's say you're feeling stuck in a relationship that you know you shouldn't be in. And if you're in your Saturn return, get out
Ooh.
now. Okay?
No.
Okay.
Who said that?
Oh,
Okay.
who said that? Me? I'm talking to you, okay? If you know that you're in a relationship, for
Mm-hmm.
example, or a friendship that doesn't serve you and you're feeling frozen around it,
Mm.
M, how can I move the conversation forward?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how
Mm-hmm.
can I make the conversation easier, optimize it? How can
Mm.
I start asking questions, create opportunities for us to connect? V, how can I verify against my values and my vision for my love life?
Mm.
And E, given all of that information, what am I going to do about it? Execute. Okay, so that's
Mm.
one example. Now, a professional example might be you have let's see, you have a business idea that you're really excited about, or you have like a
Mm-hmm.
new product or an offer that you're really excited about.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm a manifesting generator. Okay. Aquarius moon, I got ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got
Okay.
visions.
She's got visions. So I understand. But instead of staying and keeping it all in your notes app, here's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
M, you have a good idea. What can we do in the next 2 weeks to move that idea along physically? Are you going to
Mm.
host a workshop? Are you going to post on your
Mm-hmm.
story about it? Are you going to do a poll? Okay. Are you going to
Mm.
get your friends over for a little
Yes.
kiki and just try something out? Okay.
Yes.
M,
Yes.
O, once you've done that, okay, now we've done it. How are we going to make it better? We're going to optimize. Then you're going to
Mm.
do it again, right? And make it better, get that flow, get that momentum. V, we're going to look back, see what worked, see what didn't. And we're going to measure that against your vision and your values. And
Mm.
then E, once we have all those receipts, baby, we are going to execute, we are going to run, and we are going to get that offer off the ground. So those are
Mm.
2 ways that I just gave my whole framework. Okay, y'all are welcome.
You're welcome. Okay. This is a free ass pod. Go get her Venmo code and hit her up with that. Okay. She just gave us a whole free coaching session, personal and professional. Thank you very much. Um, oh my God. I love a frame. Like, I love a framework. I love a 1, 2, 3 step. I love an acronym. It's just because, again, there's times when we are frozen or overwhelmed or inundated. We're like, what are we oh, right, move. And again, I know the difference of, like, you talking about it versus walking us through it. It's like, yeah, we all know we should, like, do more planks or burpees, but are we going to do them unless someone's like helping us? Probably not. So it's like, I appreciate that you laid out the framework so generously, but nothing is ever going to be, working with someone who has your back, who's holding that space for you, who's like keeping the energy going. And I just want to say two things. One, yeah, signing up for this is like, I think half of the work of working with someone who's as powerful as you is what I always like to call, and what I even say in my book is like transformation by transmission. Like, the second you say yes, the second you're like, giddy up, mama's got the keys to the Jeep, vroom, like beep beep, like we're in it. Before I remember when you signed up for me, we're like, bye bye, like your guides, your ancestors were like, okay, bye bye, like she's ready. So I know that just by working with you, there's a transformation that happens just by being in your energy, being in your presence. And I also want to say, like, how incredibly powerful your especially the spinal energetics work you do is. Like, I had heard about it. I'm always like, Virgoing, like researching, listening what's going on. And I have a client who like does it. And I was like, okay, cool. And when you got into it, I was like, this makes a lot of sense for you. And you were really vibing. And then we did a session together like leading up to the Aries eclipses. And I think it was just more like, always like I'm trying to be intentional and plan things around astrology. But then usually it's just like when life, it's like, oh, reschedule. Okay, well, let's do it now. And it just happened to be as we led into the Aries eclipses in 2023. And holy shit, like, talk about getting me ready to move, getting me ready to move. Like, I think I just found out I was pregnant. There's the work, the business stuff. All that is boring, because what you helped activate with me and my Aries sister was like, we had to make a split second decision to literally kidnap my mother. Which, for legal purposes, I'll leave the story there. But it was the best decision we ever made. We had literally like 45 minutes to make the decision. And my old Virgo, good girl complex shadow could have been like, well, I don't want to upset anyone and all this stuff. But it was a decision, when I say I could tear up, that changed the course of our family history, story. A new karmic path was set forward in that moment, because we all were like, F this. Like, I'm crying thinking about it. And I remember being like, whoa, like that, it like got me ready for something. And during the session, I was like, you are preparing for something like battle, but we don't know what it is. And the last time I felt that way was like the Starbucks story that I talked about in the book. So I'm like, and you really helped get me there. And then that unleashed like a whole crazy, year of my life. But I think that, like, I think back to that session and I was like, and you saying this move now framework makes sense, because that's how I felt. I felt ready to just do the damn thing and not hesitate and not be in that place of like waffling or trying to like make everyone happy, when I knew damn well what was the best thing to do. So I just want to thank you for that. Okay. We can put that as a testimonial on your site. If you ever need to get ready to kidnap your mother and disrupt some bad karma and start a new family story of healing, celebration, and reclamation, then treat yourself to a session with this woman. Okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh, exactly that. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just hearing you say that, you took action at the time when you needed to, and you didn't
Mm-hmm.
wait. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't
Mm-hmm.
wait. And
Yeah.
like so much of us, we sit and we wait and we think that indecision is not a decision. You not deciding
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
a decision. Time does not stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
not to put fear in anybody's heart,
No.
but it is to call you in of, for every second that you're waiting,
Mm-hmm.
there's something that is being missed. So just don't forget
Mm-hmm.
about that. Like, and you get to move powerfully, and the world is really ready for it.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so as we start to like, begin the slow process of wrapping this all up with like a nice little bow and some tissue paper for everyone at home. I do want to shout out one more tool of yours that I think could really help people understand what this means, for them personally, maybe a little bit more like specifically, because I love all your tools you offer. Can you walk us through? I just took the quiz. What wild animal, talking about nature again, what wild animal runs your subconscious? This is such a genius tool. Can you tell us a little bit about the animal archetypes and how they can help people like reconnect to their intuition?
Yes. So when you come into my world, I will invite you to take this quiz. Again, she said, what wild animal runs your subconscious? It is based off of what we know about attachment theory, so your attachment style in relationships, and nervous system research, and just linked in with like a cute little shamanic archetype bow, which we love. But we use those three things to really help you in 10 questions understand your natural response to challenge, to stress, and to fear. And with that, there's the ability for you to then be empowered not to just know, right? Like, oh, I'm in a chronic freeze, or oh, I'm stressed out. If you're hearing this, you're like, oh, I need to take this, you're stressed out. But and that you have challenge in your life. But really to then go, how can I actually leverage it? And that's the thing that's
Mm,
different about my work, I believe, is instead of going, oh, you're in a chronic freeze state. So like you just need to like lay down, drink some water, do some yoga. Have you tried breath work?
mm.
Like, girl, yes, I have tried breath work, girl. Of course I have. Hello, duh.
Hello, duh. I'm a human with internet access in
I,
2025. Yeah.
literally, I'm breathing now. Give me something. So, not to discount breath work, it's a very good tool. But if you are in a specific state in my coaching program, I can say, okay, we're in the deer response right now. We're in the eagle
Mm,
response right now. We're in the bear response right now. And we can go, okay, well, how can we actually leverage it? If you're in a fight response, you brought up
mm,
anger earlier. I'm going to use that as an
mhm,
example.
mhm,
So, my eagle archetype is the fight response, a chronic like
mm,
fight. Instead of going, oh, you just need to calm down. No, 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 no.
mm,
You're the one, Maddie, who taught me this phrase of that sacred rage.
mm, mm,
How can you take that fight response and go, okay, well, what am I angry about? And how can I go, you know what? How can I bridge between my sacred rage and what's mine to do? And then I will
mm.
help you create a strategy to leverage your fight response, to take it and alchemize it rather than shame you and going, oh, I'm just too overstimulated. I can't do it.
Oh, yes. I fucking love that. I love the alchemy that's happening. I love the action. And it's such a good example because I feel like I keep telling people right now between having two under two and just being a tired ass mama, the thing that gets me out of bed a lot of these days is I am 100% fueled by Nespresso pods and Sacred Rage. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm too tired to do this. I could just give up. I could just lay in bed and watch. What's the show everyone's watching? Love Island? That sounds
Yes.
good. And then I'm just like, I gotta channel this into something. Hit me up with another shot of caffeine. We got this, and then it feels good, right? I'm working through it, so I love your work for that reason because we need that more than ever. And just kind of shifting, back to you. Everyone definitely will link all of this, in the show notes to take that. I love a quiz. It's very insightful. It's very helpful. And again, like, words build worlds and be able to have a framework, be able to name something, being able to like materialize something we're feeling, never underestimate like the impact of that. But for you, for Shantani, from professional dancer to celebrity trainer to now like nervous system sage, like how in your life right now, personally, like how has your definition of success changed?
Mm, such great questions, Maddie.
Thank you.
How's my definition of success changed? Well, in the beginning of this story that we started on this conversation with, my success was determined by what everybody else thought of me.
Mm.
It was determined by validation from everyone else's perception that I had a false sense that I could control. And I
Mhm.
was trying so hard to manipulate, and to be honest, it's a big shadow. It's a big Libra
Mhm.
shadow of trying to manipulate other people's perception of you and kind of pull the wool
Mm.
over their eyes, and
Mm.
just so that you could fit in, right?
Mhm.
So that was my old definition of success, and now I really measure it up against what is mine to do and what do I know. I've done the work to know
Mm.
deeply what is mine to do. Am I staying in integrity? Am I
Mhm.
also, gosh, this could be a whole other episode, but am I showing up in my real ass life? Like,
Mm.
am I calling my mom?
Oh, but we always talk
Like,
about that, right? It's
li-
like, hello, right? Like the real
literally,
ass life stuff. Yes.
that's huge because I think of, I believe and I've seen, we will go to the ends of the earth. This is the proverbial we, and not anybody on this call, but like, we will go to the ends of the earth to try to heal the entire world before we come back home and do our work.
Mhm.
And that is
Mhm.
a huge shadow that comes up in these industries, in our industries. I mean, we're a part of it, and we have to hold the
Mhm.
standard of saying,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, you might be able to lead this incredible experience for hundreds of people, but behind closed doors, are you who you say you are? And if you
Mhm.
pull back the curtain on a lot of people, because I know them intimately, and it's not to shame, but it's like, are you
Mhm.
doing what you said that you're doing?
Mhm.
So that's how I measure my success. Am I being the person that I say I
Mm.
am? And is my life a reflection of my values?
Mm.
And yeah, is when you come into my world and when you meet me or you talk to me, like I'm human just like the rest of us, and also like we're all just walking each other home, and I just want to
Mhm.
connect with as many people with my hopefully 80 years here on this planet, and
Mhm.
just really revel in the gift that is life. Life is such a gift, and even in those moments where it's really hard, I'm not going to spiritually bypass on this podcast. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you have to be like love and light for every moment, but as long as you still have life, you still have time.
Mm. 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 That's so good. Wow, so many beautiful parts of your chart just popping off there with so much poetry and truth and love. And yeah, it's like just to kind of like recap on that what I was saying in the beginning, right? Like I know you were actually talking, and I just sort of had an intimate behind the scenes look at someone. I won't name names or even industries, but they're a philanthropist, and I just found out they don't like they're a really shitty father or parent. They're a man. Okay, whatever. Spoiler alert. But like, doesn't really
It's
narrow
okay.
things down. I'm sure for anyone. Everyone's like, yeah, not surprised. But like everyone being like, oh, like that like kind of sucks. But it's like easier in some ways, right? To go out there and do all the things. And like you said in the beginning, like I'm gonna heal the world. And it's like, okay, well, how about your relationship with yourself? And then are you doing those things that aren't like sexy or for Instagram likes? Like, yeah, are you checking in? And I think as someone who has a Libra stellium, I love that you brought up just that relational thing, right? Like the quality of our relationships determining the quality of our lives, Esther Perel says, of like, and just coming back home to ourselves. And I'm thinking about you and your Taurus, like I see, and this thing of like, you really went on a journey to like come home to yourself, but like deep within yourself, deep home within like ancient parts of you. And now that you get to do that for other people is so, so, so special. And while you're talking, I do just want to give someone a practical tool also if they're listening. You have a Libra stellium. So that means you have, three or more planets in Libra. You have a lot of lovely Libra in your chart, which is why you're so gracious, why you're, I think, a pretty bitch, if I may. It's
Thank
why you're
you.
it's why you're so good at bringing everyone in, and with your Aquarius moon. But that Libra stellium, it's so important to understand, especially if we have a stellium, we have a lot of something in our chart. It's so important to know what that energy is in the light and in the shadow of it, and what it means to and we live within the light and shadow even within a day. It's not like we're ever gonna like land one spot forever, but being aware of what those feel like, and when we're tipping out of balance, where we're living in a balanced, like embodied state of them. And that sometimes the medicine, especially if we have a stellium, is to look at the opposite sign. And I feel like so much of your work you're doing right now, especially like in the body intelligence, but especially in homecoming, it's like helping people trust their positive higher consciousness of their Aries. Like we talked about, shadow Aries can be like, I'm just gonna focus on me. But a high consciousness Aries to me is pure animal instinct. It's like working on that first hit. And again, back to that Aries eclipse, my Aries sister helped kick it off, and I just got to be along for the ride. It's like it's that animal side of us that's just like, whoop, something is wrong, and I'm gonna go. And I think it's a really cool, again, like tangible example of how to work with the chart and the keys I talk about in my book, of like, if you have a lot of one sign in your chart, I talk about in the book, look at the opposite sign, right, and study that, because it might be time to like bring a little of that in as your secret sauce. And you are just, again, like why I'm interviewing you, someone I think is really living in your cosmic zone. And that doesn't mean that life is perfect, doesn't mean we have it all figured out. It's actually kind of quite the opposite. It's more that we're just following like the next intuitive yes, and knowing what keeps us in alignment, right? What keeps us in alignment. And we get to actually just like be really present, be our authentic selves, hopefully enjoy it, because that's something too of like I talk about in your chapter of like, why are we doing all of this if we're not having a little bit of fun and being our bodies, and again, not in a bypassing way, but like you said, we have this one wild and precious life. Like let's be here now with it. So thank you for modeling and being so generous with your storytelling and your wisdom of what it really means to be in the cosmic zone. And I want to close out by asking you, I think what's cool about my work is that I get to work with people who are sometimes very early in their journey, or like in their Saturn return and like stepping into the cosmic zone for the first time. But there's one thing I've learned from my mentees, from my clients, from my own damn life, is that life will kind of keep asking you, like you said, keep asking you to go to that place of being brave, kind of go to that like growth edge, kind of look at like, ooh, comfort zone is there. It's so nice there. That Love Island is there. It's cozy. I could just kind of be happy there, my meditation pillow. But we're all being asked, especially now more than ever, to expand into that unknown, but that beautifully, wildly alive, aligned place of the cosmic zone. So is there anything coming up for you personally, professionally, that you just want to share with it? Like, ooh, this is my next thing that gives me a little tingles, that helps me tap back into that adventure spirit you were talking about before.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. The first thing, well, speaking of your book, I know that I'm living my book.
Yes, yes,
This
yes, 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 yes.
is the first time I'm saying it live, so you're hearing it live.
Ooh, ooh,
Um,
ooh.
but I believe that that was the first thing that came in when you said that, is like, and just to reiterate what you said, Maddie, like we're all in this journey together, and it's that spiral staircase that you talk a lot about in your work, where we're just going up and around, and we come back to the same place, but from a different vantage point, right? And my next edge, where I begin again, will be my book, my first book. And I'm really, really like grateful to know people like you, and who just like pave the way, carve the way, and I can go, okay, if Maddie can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm really excited about. And, just to continue to serve people in my community, to serve my clients to the highest capacity and the fullest capacity. And really, for me, I'll say this is it is, you talk a lot about the revolution. To me, it is revolutionary when the people, when the artists, when the creatives, when the medicine givers come out of the shadows, and they have what they need to mobilize, to move, and to come from a place that is embodied and real and rooted in integrity. And that's what my work is here to do. Like that's the revolution that I'm here leading, is you get to take up space, you get to speak your truth, you get to get out there and make noise and ruffle feathers and change the system, and it starts with you. So those things are the things that I'm the most excited about. And if you're listening to this and you're like, that's me, please, please, please take that quiz, come into my world, DM me, because like Maddie always says, we're starting a revolution, baby.
Honey, it's right here. Okay, you got me doing when my mom was really excited, she'd go like this. And when you said that book thing, I was like, And then you're doing evolution. I'm like, So, yes, it's so good. Okay, well, Shantani, we will link, where to find you, everything, your website, your quiz here. We'll have your Instagram there. Is there anything that we just didn't get to say, or anything you just want to like circle up on before we close out and just this delicious conversation?
Mm. Let's practice what we preach and breathe into it, baby. I'm just calling all of you in, all of us in. And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have come into your world, Maddie, and to be able to experience my own cosmic revolution literally through your work, and to be able to share that in my own way, in mine. And yeah, the last thing that I'll say is exactly what I said before, which is if you're feeling that whisper, if you're hearing that
Mm-hmm.
whisper, it's time. It's
Yeah.
time. And life is on your side, and the universe has your back, and Maddie has your back, and I have your back. And I would love to work with you and support you and root for you and like all your posts and help you lead your own personal revolution. So thank you so much for having me here, Maddie. And buy the book and be on the lookout for my book. And we love you, baddies.
We love you. I mean, come on. You got these two bad bitches on your side, at your back. Like, what can you not do right now? I love that. I love
Unstoppable,
that.
unstoppable.
So good. Well, Shantani, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for letting me use a little bit of your story in the book to hopefully inspire others or ignite something in them, remind them of something. And everyone, go find, follow, interact with Shantani. I promise you, your life will be better for it. So thank you so much. Thank you, Shantani. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, Maddie.
Okay, amazing.